Next, let's assemble all the parts together. Start with attaching the facial features. Take the head and the nose. Position the slip stitch of the head. Place it at the back. This will be the back of the head. Sew the nose onto the front side. Between rounds 20 to 24. Roughly in the middle position. Attach the cloud fluff version nose to the center of the front side of the head. Slightly lower position. Sew together. Thread the reserved yarn tail of the nose into the needle. Pay attention. While sewing, the wrong side of the nose piece should face outwards. Place the nose at the corresponding position on the head. Keep the yarn tail underneath. Along the edge. Pass the needle through the corresponding position on the head. Sew together with the outermost stitches of the nose piece. Work in a counterclockwise direction to complete the circle. The needle always enters in the same direction. First, pass it through the corresponding position on the head. Then through the corresponding stitch on the fabric piece. Repeat this process to sew the entire circle. When you're almost done, stuff some cotton filling between the nose and the head. Fill it until it feels firm, making sure it's nicely stuffed. Then sew up the remaining part. Once done, Weave in the tail end into the head. And exit at any position on the back of the head. Leave the yarn tail for now. Next, take the oval flat nose. Apply a small amount of glue on the wrong side. Stick it horizontally onto the nose piece. Between R1 and R2. At the top center position. The nose is now completed. Next, sew the cheeks. Attach the two cheeks on both sides of the nose, flush against it. The height should be slightly above the middle position of the nose. Place the fabric piece horizontally while sewing, with the wrong side facing outwards. Use the same sewing method as for the nose. Again, make sure to stuff fiberfill between the fabric piece and the head. Insert the stuffing as you sew. After completing the sewing, thread the yarn tail into the inside of the head. Exit from the same hole as the nose yarn tail. Follow the previous demonstration and sew them securely. Once the cheeks are sewn, it's time to deal with the yarn tails. Divide the 3 yarn tails into 2 groups. Tie a knot. And pull tight. Tie another knot to secure it. Leave about 1 centimeter of length and cut off the excess. With the help of a sewing needle, hide the knot and yarn tail inside the head. The yarn tail is now secured. Let's move on to attaching the mouth. Hide the 2 yarn tails of the mouthpiece on the right side. I've already hidden them here, with the wrong side facing you. Place it horizontally and glue it below the nose. Glue it along the seam line. When gluing, make sure the foundation chain edge of the mouthpiece is facing up. Secure it firmly. The mouth is now attached. Let's proceed to install the eyes. Take one eyepiece with the wrong side of its last round facing you. Hide 2 yarn tails on the other side. Position the piece so that the curved edge is facing up. Take the flat-bottomed round eye. Glue it near the lower edge. slightly to the left. Then cut a long black cotton yarn tail. Pull out one strand. Thread it through the sewing needle. From behind the fabric. Exit about 1/4 of the way down from the top edge of the flat-bottomed eye on the left side. Leave a tail of about 10 centimeters. Don't pull it all the way through. Then go left, just below the right side of the eye. Slightly lower. About half a single crochet away from the edge of the eye, insert the needle. Position it approximately half a single crochet, stitch away from the eye's edge. Apply a small amount of glue between the yarn tail and the fabric piece. You can use the sewing needle to help. Then gently tighten the yarn tail. Secure it along the edge of the eye, above the previous insertion point. Sew 2 short lines that curve towards the upper right. Each line should be about 0.5 centimeter in length. The right side insertion points are all between the second and third rows. Once completed, at the upper right, along between the second and third rows, sew a short line about 0.7 centimeter long that slopes downward from left to right. Finally, on the wrong side, tie the 2 yarn tails into a knot and secure well. Leave about 1 centimeter in length, then cut off the excess. Next, apply glue on this side of the fabric piece. and attach it above the right cheek. Pay attention. The left and right here are based on when the toy's head is facing us, below the fabric piece, flush against the cheek, with the left side right next to the nose. The eye fabric piece should be slightly angled to the left. This way, the right eye is now attached. Then, using the same method, attach the left eye as well. Note: for the short line on the left eye, pay attention to the sewing position and direction, symmetrical to the right side. The method for attaching the eyes has now been explained. Finally, let's secure the two ears. First, learn the method for fixing the deer ears. If you're crocheting the lamb style, you can skip this part. Take one of the deer ears. Have the inner ear side facing you. Thread the reserved yarn tail through the darning needle. Fold it neatly along the column of slip stitches. Next, sew 2 stitches, matching the 4 stitches on both sides of the yarn tail. Match and sew 2 stitches one by one. You can sew the last 2 stitches again for reinforcement. After sewing, pass the thread back to the ending position of crocheting. Below, we start sewing. Position the deer nose facing you. Locate the 11th round on the right side of the head. Pass through the corresponding position of this round. And the folded position where the ear is sewn. Sew a few times. When sewing, make sure the inner ear faces forward. After sewing, pass the yarn tail out from the back of the head as well. Leave the yarn tail untreated for now. One ear is now secured. The method to secure the other ear is exactly the same. Its position should be symmetrical to this ear. After sewing, pass the yarn tail out from the same position, on the back of the head. Then take the 2 yarn tails and hide them inside the head. The method for securing the deer ears has now been fully explained. Next, we will learn how to secure the lamb ears. Take one lamb ear, Place the wrong side of the fabric piece facing you, fold it in half along the row of slip stitches. Thread the reserved yarn tail into a sewing needle. Sew 4 stitches by matching up the 8 stitches on both sides of the yarn tail. You can sew the last 2 stitches one more time for reinforcement. Then, thread the yarn back to the ending of crocheting position. Now let's start sewing. Here I will demonstrate using a small sample of the head. Position the nose facing you. Locate the right side between round 14 and round 15 of the head. Pass through the corresponding positions of these 2 rounds. And sew a few times at the location where the ear is folded and sewn together. When sewing, slightly pull the wrong side of the ear fabric piece forward. After sewing, thread the yarn into the inside of the head. Exit at any position on the back of the head. Leave the yarn tail unsecured for now. One ear is now fixed. The method to fix the other ear is exactly the same. Its position should be symmetrical to this ear. After sewing, similarly, exit the yarn from the same position, on the back of the head. Secure and hide both yarn tails inside the head. The method for attaching the lamb's ears has now been fully explained. Finally, sew on the tail. Use the previously left yarn tail to sew it. Attach the tail at the back of the body, in the middle position between round 8 and round 9. The curvy side should face up. The sewing technique is the same as for the nose. After sewing, pick the sewing thread and tie a knot to secure. Then hide the yarn tail inside the body. The method for sewing the tail has now been fully explained. Next, let's embroider the spots on the fawn. For the lamb version, there's no need to embroider. You can skip this part if you're not watching for the fawn. Let's start with the spots on the forehead. The spots are roughly distributed on the front of the head, between the 2 eyes. They are approximately located between the 11th round and the 17th round. There are no specific requirements for the exact placement or quantity of the spots. You can refer to the finished product as a guide. You can also embroider according to your preference. Cut a long piece of yarn used for crocheting the nose. Thread it into a sewing needle. Insert the needle from any position at the back of the head. Then bring it out from the corresponding position, at the front of the head. Reserve about 10 cm of the yarn tail, and don't pull it completely through. Place the needle tip where the yarn tail comes out. Wrap the yarn tail around the needle twice. 1, 2. With your left hand, gently pull the yarn tight. Insert the needle backward closely near the yarn tail. Exit at the next spot position. Hold the yarn tail tightly with your left hand, and don't let it loose. Slowly pull the yarn tail through. One large spot is now embroidered. Let's embroider a small spot next. Place the needle tip where the yarn tail comes out. Wrap the yarn tail once around the needle. With your left hand, gently pull the yarn tight. Insert the needle backward closely near the yarn tail. Exit at the next spot position. Hold the yarn tail tightly with your left hand, and don't let it loose. Slowly pull the yarn tail through. One small spot is now embroidered. Continue using this method to embroider the remaining spots. The size of the spots can be arranged according to your preference. After completing all the spots, pull the yarn through from the position where the yarn tail is reserved on the wrong side. Secure and hide both yarn tails. Continue above the body of the deer. Embroider spots near the neck area. The method is the same as for the forehead spots. The exact quantity and size, as well as the arrangement of positions, can be decided based on your preference. That concludes the explanation of the spot embroidery method. Up to this point, the entire making method for the main part has been covered. Next, we will learn the making method for the accessories. The accessories include the hat, decorations for the hat, and the bow. Let's start by learning the method to make the hat. The hat making methods for the two toy designs are different. Next, please watch as I demonstrate the specific crocheting method. First, let's learn how to make the deer's hat. If you're crocheting the lamb version, you can skip this part. The deer's hat starts with a magic ring. After casting on, crochet in rounds. First, follow the chart to crochet up to the end of the 7th round. Here, I've already finished this part in advance. Move on to round 8. For this round, crochet only in the back loops of the stitches from the previous round. That is, work with the yarn that is farther away from you. Follow the form to complete this round. The 8th round is now finished. Continue crocheting following the chart all the way down until the end of the 10th round. Once it's completed, move on to the 11th round. For this round, crochet only in the front loops of the stitches from the previous round. That is, work with the yarn that is closer to you. Follow the chart to complete this round. The 11th round is now finished. Continue referring to the table to crochet the remaining parts. The final round is now completed. Fasten off normally. Weave in the ends on the wrong side. Then locate the first stitch of round 7. Insert the hook above the front loop. Pull through to the back side of the hat. Join the yarn here. Work along the front loops of all stitches in this round. Match them one by one as you move to the left. Crochet a round of slip stitches. Note: try to make the slip stitches as even as possible. After completing the last stitch, leave a tail of about 5 centimeters and fasten off. Pull the yarn tail through the loop. Pass it under the first slip stitch chain from below. Then pass it back to the wrong side, through the center of the last slip stitch. Hide both yarn tails on the wrong side. The main part of the hat is now completed. Next, we will create the decorations for the hat. For the cloud fluff version of the deer hat, no decoration is needed. You can skip this part if you don't need to watch it. Take out the narrower lace trim. Place the chain side toward the brim of the hat. Locate the farthest right end of the lace trim. The position of the slip stitches on the hat corresponds to the back center. Start from the front of the hat, near the left hand. Glue the lace trim along the body of the hat. Make sure the top edge of the lace doesn't go higher than the crown of the hat. The bottom edge with the chain should be around the third round from the end. Position it approximately at the third round from the bottom. Take out the alcohol glue. Begin gluing. Continue until you reach about 4-5 cm away from where you started. Cut off the excess lace trim. The lace trim on the hat body is now glued. Next, sew the lace trim under the brim of the hat. Cut a long yarn tail from the crocheted hat. Pull out one strand of it, thread it into the sewing needle. Here, for your convenience to see more clearly, I'll use a different color for sewing. Take out the wider lace trim. Place the side with the curve facing down. Find the far right end of the lace trim. Place this end near the insertion point of the slip stitch on the brim. Align the top edge with the insertion point of the third round from the end. Sew the lace trim along this round towards the left. Insert the needle close to the edge of the lace trim. Pass it through the brim and the lace trim from right to left. Keep the distance close. Mind that the needle doesn't go through to the right side. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn without pulling it tight. Continue sewing towards the left. Ensure each insertion point is not too far apart. While sewing, approximately every 1.5 centimeters, fold a pleat with a width of about 0.6 centimeters to the left. Then continue sewing. Repeat this process until you finish the entire round. After completing the whole round, overlap and sew an additional width of about 1 centimeters towards the left. Then cut off any excess lace trim. Tie the beginning and ending yarn tails into a knot to secure them. And hide them along the texture on the wrong side of the fabric. During the sewing process, if you run out of yarn, leave the remaining tail on the wrong side. Then, using the same method, retake the yarn and finish sewing the round. The two ends at the joining position can be handled in the same way as described here. This completes the sewing of the lace trim. Next, take the satin ribbon small flower and glue it onto the left front of the brim and cap body with alcohol glue. There are no specific requirements for the placement and quantity of attachments. You can refer to the actual project, or arrange them according to your own preference. Pay attention when attaching. Cover the edges that haven't been decorated with flowers. That's all you need to do. Finally, along the top edge above the slip stitch, glue 19 semicircular pearls evenly. The amount can also be adjusted based on your preference. Up to this point, the deer hat is now completed. Place the hat on top of the deer's head. After confirming the position, apply glue underneath the brim of the hat. Attach the hat to the top of the deer's head. That concludes the tutorial for making the deer hat. Next, let's learn how to make the lamb hat. The method for both the thick yarn version and the cloud puff version is exactly the same. For the lamb hat, start with a chain. Crochet in rounds around the starting chain stitch. The crocheting method is similar to that of the cheeks. First, follow the chart to crochet until the second to last round is completed. Here, I've already finished this part in advance. Move on to work the last round. When crocheting this round, you need to add a shaping wire. Take out the shaping wire. Start crocheting the final round. Simply follow the form to crochet. As you crochet, place the shaping wire over your hook. On the right side, leave a length of 1-2 centimeters. While crocheting, wrap the shaping wire into the stitches. During the process, pay attention to follow the shape of the fabric piece. Adjust the shape of the shaping wire. Make sure it is roughly level with the edge of the fabric. Ensure the fabric piece doesn't pucker. Continue until you complete this round. When you reach the last few stitches, wrap the reserved portion of the shaping wire as well. After completing all the stitches, leave a yarn tail of about 5 centimeters and break the yarn. Trim any excess shaping wire. Hide the yarn tail along the texture on the wrong side. Adjust the shape of the hat slightly. The main part of the hat is now crocheted. Next, make the decorations for the hat. First, sew the lace trim onto the top of the hat. Cut a long piece of yarn used for crocheting the hat. Pull out one strand from it. Thread the needle. Here, for your convenience in seeing more clearly, I'll demonstrate using a different color. Take the wider lace trim. Place the side of the trim with the curve facing outward. Locate the far right end of the lace trim. Position this end near the slip stitch location on the hat. Align the top edge of the trim with the insertion point of the second to last round. Sew the trim along this round toward the left. Insert the needle from the wrong side of the fabric. Exit near the edge of the lace trim. Leave about 5 centimeters of the yarn tail without pulling it through. Pass the needle from right to left through both the hat and the lace trim once. Keep the distance close. Mind that the needle doesn't go all the way to the wrong side. Continue sewing toward the left. Make sure the insertion points are not too far apart each time. Sew with intervals of approximately 1 centimeter. Create a pleat with a width of about 0.6 centimeter, folding it to the left. Repeat this process until you finish sewing the entire round. After finishing the entire round, continue sewing toward the left, overlapping by about 1 centimeter in width. Then take the yarn tail to the wrong side. The beginning and ending 2 yarn tails. Tie a knot to secure them, and hide them along the texture. Cut off any excess lace trim on the right side. During the sewing process, if you run into a situation where the yarn tail isn't long enough, you can bring the remaining yarn tail to the wrong side and leave it for now. Pick up the new yarn and sew using the same method. The method of treating yarn tails for joining is identical to the method used for the beginning and ending yarn tails here. The lace trim on the top of the hat is now sewn together. Next, sew the lace trim on the bottom of the hat. Use the position of the slip stitch on the main body of the hat as the back right side of the hat. Place the wrong side of the fabric facing you. Position the slip stitch at the top left. Follow along the 4th round from the bottom. Sew the lace trim from right to left. Here, only sew half of the bottom circle. The sewing method is the same as for the top. Note: before sewing, take the yarn tail and weave it in closely near the starting position. Then pick up a nearby loop and tie a knot to secure it well. After securing the yarn tail, start sewing. After completing the sewing, similarly pick up a loop and tie a knot to secure it. Then weave in the remaining yarn tail following the texture. That concludes the method for sewing the lace trim on the bottom of the hat. Next, take out the narrower lace trim. Place it inside the lace trim on the top of the hat, on the side without chains. Align it towards the sewing line of the lace trim. Locate the left end of the lace trim. Start from the position where the slip stitch on the hat is located. Glue the lace trim along its sewing line. While gluing, make sure to cover the sewing line. Continue gluing all the way around the circle. Finally, when you reach the seam, overlap and glue about 1 centimeter in width. Then cut off any excess lace trim. The lace trim on the top of the hat is now completely glued. Lastly, take out the ribbon small flower. Use alcohol glue to attach between the hat fabric piece and the lace trim below. There are no specific requirements for the placement or quantity here. You can refer to the actual project, or arrange them according to your own preference. Finally, along the narrow lace trim on the top of the hat, at the position corresponding to each short chain's flower, glue 1/2 round purl. Attach pearls in all the positions. Up to this point, the lamb hat is completed. Place the hat on top of the lamb's head, slightly towards the front a little bit. After confirming the position, apply glue underneath the hat, and attach it to the lamb's head. That concludes the making method for the lamb hat. Next, make the bow. Pay attention. The bow making technique for the cloud fluff deer will be shown next. It's different from the others. The making methods for the rest of the bows are identical. First, learn the bow making method for the thick yarn and cloud fluff lamb styles. Those crocheting the cloud fluff deer can skip this part if you don't need to watch it. Take out the ribbon. Let's take a look first. The side with better sheen on the ribbon is the right side. Cut a piece of ribbon, about 28 centimeters in length. Burn the ends of the ribbon slightly with fire to prevent fraying. Next, form the ribbon into a circle, with the right side facing out. Overlap the two ends by about 1 centimeter in width. Use the overlapping point as the back center position. Flatten the circle. Place the overlapping part at the back. Then fold it forward once at the middle position. Next, fold both the top and bottom parts backward once. Fold them to the back respectively. Take out the threaded sewing needle. Use the yarn from the crocheted head. Pull out one strand. Tie a knot at the yarn tail. Here, I'm using random colors. Sew a few times at the folded middle position. Secure it well. There's no specific requirement for the sewing method here, just make sure it's sewn securely. When sewing the first stitch, pass the needle through the knotted yarn loop once. Secure the yarn tail. Continue sewing. After finishing, set it aside for now. Cut another ribbon with a length of about 22 centimeters. With the right side facing you. Use the method demonstrated before, and fold it 3 times at the middle position of the ribbon. Then place it underneath the ribbon you just sewed. Fold it slightly downward. Sew it in place below. After sewing, take the button. Sew the button onto the front of the bow. The button style here is random. Just sew it through the buttonhole directly. After finishing, take the main part of the toy. Then, with the bow, sew it onto the front of the head near the neck. Make sure to sew it securely. After sewing, pick a nearby loop, tie a knot, and secure it, and weave in the ends. Finally, on both ends of the ribbon below, cut off a small triangle from each side. After cutting, burn the edges of the trimmed areas with fire. The bow is now completed. Next, learn the making method for the cloud fluff deer style bow. Cut a long yarn tail used for crocheting the head. Thread one strand through the sewing needle. Tie a knot at the end of the yarn tail. Set it aside for later use. Here, the color of my yarn tail matches the ribbon color randomly. Take out the ribbon. Pick up either end with your right hand. Place your left hand's 4 fingers together. Reserve a length of about 10 centimeters. Wrap it twice around your left hand. Then gently remove it. Pinch the center of the overlapping ribbon. Fold it forward once at the middle position. Then fold both the upper and lower parts, backward once respectively. Take out the needle threaded with yarn. Sew a few times through the center of the folded section. Secure it well. There's no specific requirement for the sewing method here. The goal is to sew it securely. For the first stitch, pass the needle through the yarn loop with the knotted tail once. Secure the yarn tail well. After sewing, tidy up the shape of the bow. Take out the button. Sew the button onto the front of the bow. Simply sew through the buttonhole to attach it. Then sew the bow onto the front of the head. Near the neck position. After sewing, pick a nearby loop, tie a knot to secure it. And weave in the ends. Finally, on both ends of the ribbon below, cut out a small triangle from each side inward. Pay attention. The length left on this side should be roughly the same as the other side. The bow is now completed. Below, apply blush to the corresponding positions on the doll's face. Here, I'll use the fawn style as an example to explain. First, gently apply blush near the nose on both cheeks. Lightly dab some blush there. You can brush the brush against the paper a few times before applying. Then apply it again. This will make the blush lighter and more even. A little bit is enough. Next, use the same method to apply blush horizontally above the mouth fabric piece, near the nose position. This completes the blush for the fawn. Next, let's take a look at the lamb style. The method of applying blush to the lamb's cheeks and mouth is identical to the fawn style. After applying it, you also need to apply blush on the edges of the wrong side of both ears, near the head position, and above the tail. On the back side of the tail, closer to the end. The area where you apply the blush should be slightly larger. The specific shape of the application can be adjusted according to your preference. That concludes the method for applying blush on the lamb. Up to this point, the making method for this toy is also completed. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.